bellow on the bellow on the bellow. Bellow on the bellow on the bellow.
Yeah, the real shop talk. Just come and take a listen. Some grown men with unbiased and honest opinions, and with no agendas, so you just gotta check it. Talking love and life from a male perspective. We keep it authentic, real, no filter. Leave a comment, be part of the show. We here to give you 5 gentlemen's views about manhood, no doubt. This the show you've been needing, yeah, it's the real shop talk. Let's go.
All right, everybody, we are back. It's Monday, and we got a few extra people on stage, if you can't see that already. And we're going to get into that in a minute, but we welcome you back. We see a lot of comments already popping in the show. Ain't even started yet, so this is amazing. Make sure that every week that you come, you bring your +5, okay? Make sure you subscribe. Make sure that you click the bell on the YouTube page. Let me see if I have a link here for y'all to look at. If you look at the bottom of the screen, realshoptalk.net, make sure you go there, click on everybody's profile, click on the YouTube link, and make sure that you subscribe so that you don't have to worry about when that notification is coming up. So I do want to say this first and foremost. We miss y'all, man. It feels like every week, it feels like we've been gone for like 2-3 weeks, and then y'all pop up and we get all warm and fuzzy in the chest, right? So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to talk about this topic. And some of us on our individual platforms have addressed this, but we wanted to really bring it here with the whole crew and add some ladies in, because guess what? It's ladies' night. I'm not going to sing, but it's ladies' night. So we got some ladies here, some friends of the show, and we really want to bring their perspectives in on this topic tonight. We're talking about why do Black women feel unprotected? This is a huge topic. This is a topic that even guys, and a lot of us guys, we growing up didn't take this thing serious, and we want to make sure that we bring this in so that we can start to build the community here. We always say we don't have agendas, but we do have a mission. We're trying to get this community thing going, trying to hold men accountable where we normally probably don't see this accountability. So we're gonna what I'm gonna do is, since we have ladies, we're going to let ladies go first. So I'm going to let the ladies introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about what they do. And then I'm going to let the guys do a little short blurb, but we're going to get right into this thing. We're not even going to waste time on this. So first, we're going to talk to Tashura Talks. Hey, sis.
Hey, bro. I should have known I was going to go first. Well, it is me. It is I, Tashura Talks, from the Tashura Talks podcast, and also Talking Dope Shift. I am the CEO of KKG Creations, where I make blingy things and customize apparel and other things. That is who I am. That is who I be. And I'm excited to be here. I done made it. Mama, I made it to the real shop talk.
All right. Altagracia Felix, let us know who you are and what you do.
Yes. Hi, everyone. So my name is Altagracia Felix, and I am an intuitive money and trauma coach. And I'm the owner of R2E Coach, and I specialize in helping women who have experienced intimate partner abuse or some form of a toxic relationship heal their relationship with themselves, therefore with other people, and also with their money, because I believe that all three are important when we're talking about holistic recovery. So that's who I am. That's what I'm doing. And I'm excited to be here with you guys. So thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming in. Altagracia was my guest on my show not that long ago, and I was like, we need you on the show. I feel like that about all the like the people. When we bring people in, Tony Watson brought some folks in. Y'all just, everybody, y'all fit. And it's because I always tell people, when you have a certain energy that comes off of you, you attract like energy. And everybody that we've had on the show, all the people that we've touched since we started this thing, it just fits. So we love you guys. We're going to move on to Miss Bernadette Jackson, another friend to the show. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing? I'm glad to be here. My name is Bernadette. I am the CEO of Her Consulting Group, and we help fatherless daughters to find their most authentic self by healing from their father trauma, understanding what those wounds have caused in their relationships, and finding a path forward. I am happy to be here, and I can't wait to get this conversation started.
All right, so let's just go ahead and dive in. Big deep sigh, everybody. this is what I have some bullet points, but I really want to do this since we have you ladies on the show. We don't have ladies on here often, but when we do, we want to make sure we get your perspective. I'm not going to start with Tashura first. So I'm going to ask each one of you just briefly, when you hear this topic, what's the first thing that comes to mind for you? We're going to start with Bernadette.
Okay. So, when I hear the topic, the first thing that comes to mind is a lack of empathy. I feel like men do not understand some of the ways that women feel unsafe. And because they don't understand it, or because they can't conceptualize it, or it's not something that they've gone through, I feel like they don't think that it feels real for us. And so I just hope that with this conversation that we'll be able to get some kind of understanding about what it's like to feel unsafe on our end, and maybe just open up the dialogue a little bit so that we can kind of get some clarity around some things in terms of like how we feel when certain things happen, and what it feels like for us from our perspective, and just finding a path forward. Because at the end of the day, I really feel like women want to be safe in their relationships, ultimately, either romantically, friendships, at work, everything. And I think that once we are able to create environments where safety is the number one priority, so many other things come from that naturally. So that's my thought.
Okay, Altagracia, what was your first reaction to this topic? Not that you guys even have to react; you probably still living it. But what is your reaction to this?
Oh God. I automatically started thinking about all the traumas that I've had and all the men that stood by and did nothing. And I never really took the time to think about their roles, but that really just brought it back up for me. And how I tend to view men now, they're not like, I want to lean on myself as a woman to keep myself safe, because I have been traditionally taught that men aren't going to be the ones to do so. And so now I want to challenge that narrative for myself. But I also think it's room for healing for me and for any other woman who might be feeling that way too. Because I think we need to get to a place where men honor women and women can honor men. And it's a balanced system. So that's it for me.
Tashura.
Okay, so yeah, this is a trigger topic for me. When I first read it, instantly I felt anger and sadness, because I recall various situations that I've been in. So anger and sadness is what comes across whenever a topic like this comes up.
Gotcha. I didn't the fellas, whenever you get your chance, if you feel like you want an intro, but I feel like we just need to dig in. We got our links on the on the thing. I just want to dive in. I wanted to get you guys' reaction because I really wanted anybody who's watching now, right? And even if you're on the replay, what you just saw from all three ladies, you didn't just hear it, you felt it. And they were just talking about their initial reactions. And I wanted people to see that coming from them, because this is more often than not in our community with our Black women. So the first place I want to go with this is, let's do this. I'm thinking about stuff on the fly because I really want this thing to hit home for people. I want the gentlemen one by one to go around and really talk about growing up, even into your life. What inspired or informed how you view women, whether it was positive or negative? Where did you get those values from? And were they something that served you or didn't serve you, depending on where the information came from? Because I want to go there, because I think in order for us to understand the why, we got to see like that middle part of like, were you taught to be this way? Did you socialize this way? Were you taught to value women and you were the oddball in the group? Or you just let we'll start with Tony Massey. Just let the audience know like what's your personal story as far as how you value women, and how did that serve or not serve you growing up?
So I grew up in a matriarchal family. A lot of women raised me. And when I say raised me, I mean mother, aunts, cousins. We even to this day, there are just more women in my family than there are men. And so I grew up exposed to the plight of women. But here's what's interesting. Up until my 30s, I really believed, based on what I saw, that the strength of a woman was measured based on what she could endure and not what she could avoid. So a strong Black woman for me was a Black woman who could endure and carry a lot of pain, because that's what happened to the Black women that I grew up around and with. They carried pain and they didn't complain, and they still fed their kids. They still went to work. They still did all the things that you're supposed to do. And so their strength was tied to their ability to endure all of this pain and still, be whoever they were. And it wasn't until I got older that I realized that these women were not, it's not that they were not displaying strength. It's that we shouldn't be measuring a Black woman's strength based on what she can endure. We should be measuring her strength based on, one, what she could avoid, and two, what she can do for herself. I mean, I grew up in a place, all of the women that I grew up with, they're all accomplished. They all have degrees. They're all, pillars of their community. When my grandmother passed away, the mayor was at her funeral. That's how much of an impact that she made on the city in Houston when I grew up. And every woman that came behind her carried that mantle. But yet, when it came to holidays, the men would sit in the living room or wherever, watch football, and basically just be catered to, right? And so I got this message, this indirect message that even I remember the first time I brought a woman home, it was made clear to her that she needed to fix my plate. Now, had I deserved my plate to be fixed? No. But that's just what you did. And so they walked the line between, this educated, accomplished business corporate woman and this traditional woman who fill those traditional roles. And so, I had to change that mindset, because what never registered to me was, what about the men? And that's not me, disrespecting any of the men in my family, because some of the men in my family are really great men, but that's not all of them are. Some of them are not very good people, and they hurt the women that I love, and they disrespected them, and they were not good to them, but yet they were not held accountable, because again, the strength of the woman was based on what she can endure. And so as I became a man myself, I never wanted to force a woman to, go through my stuff in order for her to reach a level of strength. I didn't want to. But I'm very open and honest about the fact that I cheated on my son's mother, my first wife. And I was indignant when she decided, I'm not putting up with this. So much so that I felt like she did not understand her role as a wife, to look past my indiscretions and understand that I'm just a man. And it's fascinating to me that men want to be alpha males and lead and be the head of their house and be all of this stuff, until we make a mistake, until we do something stupid. And then we go to our lowest common denominator and say, I'm just a man. You have to forgive all of my indiscretions, all of my stupidity, all of my mistakes, all of my, because I'm just a man. When I make a mistake, when I mess up, when it's time to be accountable. But when it's time to be a leader, you got to submit to what? You're just a man. You know what I mean? And that's the irony of it all, right? So that's where I formulated my ideas of women. And here's the part that's really hard. I've been called a simp more times than I've been called my name. And at this point, I'm okay with it because, it doesn't make or break me. But there's a place where you start to recognize a woman's plight. And even in some of the situations that are controversial and they shouldn't be, like, not to, I know we shouldn't go here, but like the R. Kelly thing, to me, this is cut and dry. I don't know why we're having this conversation, but yet there are people out there, women included, who are blaming the young girls because they knew what they were doing. And this is the lack of protection, because I can remember as a young boy being asked, how many girlfriends do you have? And when my answer was one or none, I was chastised. But when a little girl is asked how many boyfriends you have, there is no answer suitable except for 0. That's it. So if I'm supposed to have 10 girlfriends, but my peers are supposed to have 0 boyfriends, who the hell am I supposed to be girlfriends with? You know what I mean? And that's the dichotomy that women are forced to live under, but you don't recognize it until you recognize it. But by then, for some men, it's too late because we're so indoctrinated into this, toxic masculinity. And again, this is not that masculinity is toxic, but it can be. Just like, sugar isn't toxic unless you're diabetic, then it can be, right? So I had to recognize that although the black women that I grew up with are strong, their strength is not just tied to what they went through or what they were able to go through, but it was tied to their accomplishments. It was tied to their ability to give to the next generation freely without expectation of having it, this idea of legacy, this understanding that I'm not going to be here forever. So I got to leave something for the next generation. And that is what makes the women in my life so special, that they're always thinking about that grandchild, that niece, that nephew, that, so forth and so on. So I'll land there.
What's one of those planes that carry like bombs and they like bigger than the regular plane? Anyway, we love you, brother. Gutter man. What was your how your view of women, how did that come to be, like, with you? And audience, I'm doing this because I want you guys to see that our answers aren't going to sound exactly the same. We're around the same age group, but our answers are going to be the same. But unfortunately, even with us and even with a lot of men that the results, no matter how we grew up, some reason it always comes back home. And now we have women that are saying, it don't matter where I was, I don't understand what's going on. And I want people to see that even though we're different, there are going to be some things that you're going to hear that's similar. And we got to really get to the root of this. And later on, we're going to talk about us holding each other accountable is something that we just don't do. So, Gunter Man, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you so much. As I am sitting here listening to Tony Massey speak, I'm reminded that, I grew up Caribbean. Which is almost like a community in itself in the midst of a community that is also Black. Now, I'm trying to make sense of it. Like, we were so tightly knit that we really didn't feel like the outside influences of the neighborhood or our neighborhoods really weren't a part of the things that like guided our thoughts and our habit patterns until you got older. Because I grew up in a place and space where my mom is with my dad. My mom and dad are still together. You know, my dad adores my mom, constantly treats her that way. You know, I don't know if I grew up in a house where I seen them even fight. However, they did that. They navigated those, us three kids, myself and my two sisters, they navigated the area and space where they had their disagreements. I mean, maybe once or twice. I can remember my mom getting upset and breaking plates once, you know, but as far as interaction between man and woman, my dad constantly adored my mom. And that was my example. But it could be also that my mom, as you guys know, was sick often. And since she was sick often, my vision of my dad loving my mom is almost always him sitting by her hospital bed, looking at her, staring at her, hoping that she'll get better. So that is my image. Like, I don't have other images other than us taking trips to the Bronx Zoo, you know, fried chicken wrapped in aluminum foil. So mom took care of us to the next level. But as I got older, now let me see, leading into the community, you did grow up with the concept, like, you know, get as much as you can when it comes to women. You know, men should be out there sleeping with whatever. But so is that the community? It has to be. Who said that to me? Well, it wasn't my family, because my mom was like my mom's side alone is she was number 9 of 17 kids. So we had aunties and uncles and all living, hanging, being together as a family. Like, you didn't really separate. Okay, she's my aunt. No, she could treat you just like your mom treats you. He could treat you just like your dad treats you. Growing up in that community, my house was the go-to house. Whether when we lived in the Bronx, New York, or when we moved to Mount Vernon, our house was the go-to house for Easter and Christmas and Thanksgiving. All family members always came to us. So I constantly seen the rhythm of men and women interacting. But nothing stands out more than the view that I see of my father and my mother. That stands out more than anything. And he always treated her with this royalty. Now, I can see hints of making sure you fix a plate for your man happening. So somewhere along that line, that came into play. But I always see it as a unit where we all just took care of each other. We all took care of each other, and we seen ourselves as different than African-American blacks. We seen ourselves different. Like, you know, we were the ones that you get the jokes about. You have like 3 jobs, 4 jobs, 5, because you Jamaican. You know, my dad is from Jamaica. My mom is from the British Virgin Islands, Tortola. Shout out to my Caribbean people. You know, so being able to succeed at the next level, seeing yourself as you think that you are even better than the blacks in the neighborhood, because you are moving as a unit and functioning to always try to take care of each other, always trying to take care of each other. So where do the thoughts when it comes to treatment of women come in? It has to be in school, having feelings and being directed by kids, other kids telling you that this is what's right and this is what's wrong. Because it's not coming from my home. It is not coming from my home, and it's not coming from my uncle, and it's not coming from my aunties. It is coming from simply the streets. And, of course, entertainment. I grew up, as you guys know, 11th grade, I'm on tour. 11th grade. So I'm 16 years old, and I'm able to travel around the United States. 16 years old. So now entertainment and whatever videos you get to see, and how they treat women. I mean, I don't think back then was popping bottles, but there was something going on with that energy. And being an entertainer, being a dancer on top of that, we were very comfortable with our bodies, because most of the time we're in our, you know, your dancer pants, you know, dancer pants, and you're running in and out, off and on stage. So you're half naked, pulling your clothes off, pulling your clothes back up, and you're running back on stage. And that was my lifestyle from an early age. So we grew up very free with our bodies. So in the rhythm of entertainment, that was like a secret society also, because you will find yourself connecting and sleeping with people just because of the rhythm of, everything's very energetic and very sexual and it's dance. It's dance. It's your body speaking your freedom. If you're a person that grew up loving to dance, dance is not like something that you do. It's an expression of your innards. It's like it is freedom from all the stuff that goes on around you. Like you dancing is like the outside world disappears. So you're freer, and that's the mindset you have. So from a young age, I remember by the time I'm 15 years old, I'm sleeping with a number of girls. I mean, you're talking like 15. Not like touch. I'm sleeping with and going from one girl to the next girl to the next girl and trying to have a relationship, and you're bouncing from the one to the one to the one to the one. So I have a billion, 3 weeks, 3 days, 3 months. We know about that traditional 3 months. You hang around, you meet someone, you connect with someone for 3 months, and all of a sudden they're gone. To 6 months. I've only had a handful of relationships that went for a longer period of time, but that had a plethora, a ton of connecting, feeling with quick away, and then boom, you find yourself being sexual. So the numbers racked up, stacked up, stacked up, without really thinking like, I'm just passing through people. Like, I'm not saying, okay, well, let me go to this place so I can meet a girl and hopefully I can get a little something. Nope, never did that. But it was just the energy that you interacted with. The energy you interacted, like a dancer is your body. Then you're out there partying and jamming, and people are now coming to you. You're not really going there. They're coming to you because of your ability to dance. And you get your clicks, you have your people, and you have these bodies always being revealed. So now you end up wanting to use them. Imagine that, 15 years old, and you have partners. At 15, you ain't trying to do nothing, no type of relationship. So imagine going through a life full of that. And then you get married, never really having a real committed relationship. You gonna mess that up like I did, Lord. Like it wasn't pretty. How do you plan on being there for someone or knowing how to perform or to act and to be when you've never really stood around to work through any type of the hardships of a relationship? Because the hardships of a relationship is what teaches you to fight. But me as a guy, and then women always coming at me, you just kind of just end up just moving to the next one when the disruption comes. I can't even tell you how relationships ended. I was like, no clue. And then, being on this platform and running into friends, old exes, I guess you call them exes, people that you've been with in the past, and they want to tell you about, don't you remember we went here and here? And I'm like, I have no clue. Zero memory of me hanging out with you and doing stuff with you. So how was I envisioning women in my life? How? It's just, I don't even know how to answer that. So I think I'll just land there because that was and still in bits and pieces is my life. Until I got into this relationship, understanding and going through a divorce and didn't want to fail at this relationship thing, I was clueless. I was clueless on what love is. I was clueless on how to truly serve someone. I was clueless on being a man that can share his feelings and not be called a punk. Think about that. You sharing your feelings and you are seen not only by other men, but by women as you a punk, you a wimp, you soft for sharing your feelings. So what do you do? What do you do? How do you navigate these streets? All right, I'll end there. Thank you, guys.
Singletary.
What was the question again? Nah, my story is very similar to Tony Massey. Not quite as eloquent, but very similar. Grew up in I saw him roll his eyes. Grew up in a matriarchal household. I think I had the benefit. My mom was the black sheep, so she was in trouble. She was rebellious. She was definitely, she kind of changed the game. Got to give her a shout out. She was like the answer to a Black history question in San Antonio, Texas. She was like one of the first women to work for the phone company, and actually would climb up the phone poles and all that. So she was rough and tough, man. And there was a tragic lack of male presence in my growing up. Like I, my grandmother's third husband, I called him granddaddy, and he was around. That's about the most I could say. But other than that, it was my grandmother, my mom, my aunts, holding it down. So, I'm seeing a lot of strong women, and I'm growing up with that perspective that, women are powerful, women set standards. So you think, okay, I'm good. I'm not going to have a problem respecting and protecting Black women. But it's amazing to me to find out how it still finds its way to infiltrate the minds of men, of young men. Even when you grow up in an atmosphere and a circumstance where, you don't see men doing anything, you don't see them active in any kind of way. I had an uncle that was in and out of jail. There was nothing solid about the men, like in the direct household that I grew up in. So, I'm seeing women do all of these things. I see my aunt going up the corporate ladder, and my other aunt, she was a teacher for almost 45 years, and just all these amazing things. But yet, I get into high school and college, and we still have this issue with respecting and valuing and protecting and, giving the honor that Black women deserve. And, I think about, situations. One time, man, it was before football practice. It was summertime, so we're doing 2-a-days. And my mom gets into it with her boyfriend. And we stop at the house. She's pissed. So she stops. I'm sitting there in my football pads. Well, we just put the bottom pads on. We put the shoulder pads on later. So I'm sitting in the car waiting on her. She go in the car, and then she go in the house, and I see some people arguing back and forth. And I'm thinking, yo, dude trying to put his hands on my mom. So like I dash in there. I'm ready to whoop this dude. And she hated when I tell the story. When I get in there, when I tell you she was beating this dude down, I ain't never seen that much fear on a dude's face in my life. Like I thought he was about to start crying. So, so I grew up with these strong women, but then I get in high school and college, and it's still the knucklehead syndrome that women are objects and our relationships with them are strictly transactional. And that's the issue. We really live in a society where it's not so much, guys will talk about their tough. Oh, I protect my woman. Ain't nobody going to touch her or whatever. But part of that protection, part of that honor, part of, recognizing that is recognizing emotional and intellectual space and property. And men struggle in that area. A guy will say, oh yeah, I walk on the street side and I open doors and I pay bills, and still not protect women. And until you can see the totality and see their humanity in the same way you see your own, we can't truly protect Black women.
So real quick, I didn't know what everybody's answer is, but if you listen closely to each one, there's a theme here, and I'm gonna tell you what that is, and then we're gonna bring the ladies back in, and we're gonna get some pertinent questions from them. So T. Watts, is on you.
Oh, you want me to go? Really?
Yeah, absolutely. It's your turn, sir. You gotta.
So I was the F boy back in the day. So we're gonna land the plane right there and call that what it is. And what I've learned, especially after having daughters, is that you will reap what you sow. So you have to teach. So it was always my intention to teach my daughters to have their space protected, because I didn't protect it. I didn't care about anybody's space. You were here to serve me. You were here for my pleasure, and that was it. Like, I was never taught, even though my mother and my aunts and my grandmother, like everybody else said on the panel, were extremely strong women. My sisters, you could not touch them, but your family was an open game to me. There was no reciprocity in, like, oh, this is my family, that's your family, I should treat your family the same way. It was the hunt. We sat around, we went to the club, and I'm pretty sure every man on the panel played the how many numbers can you get game, how many can you hit in the week that you met them, who can you hit first, and then checked it off. So, Rick, you're different. I understand. You danced. You didn't do all of that. I understand. But being being a star athlete, I played semi-pro ball as well. So having all of that and being able to talk my way through any situation, I was a hunter. So and I really regretted it down the line when I started looking at those people that I hurt during my process. Right, like everybody on the panel, most people were told, "Hey, you're going to be a ladies killer. You're going to be this, that, and the other," and you follow suit with that. Like I try to tell people a lot that boys, most times, and I'm not talking about all men, I'm just talking about those who grew up in my circle. We played GI Joe. We played collected cards. We played sports. So everything we did was competitive. When we started dating, that was just another transition to being competitive. So we cherished our cards. We cherished our comic books. We cherished our AFX cars and model cars and model planes. So when we started collecting women, we cherished them for what the transactional thing was. That's what we cherished them for. We didn't respect them as human beings, and that's the problem. That is the problem right there. So I'm going to land my plane here. I have some statistics I want to go through once we get into it, but I'm gonna land the plane right there.
So, Tony Watts, you use the term hunter, and that's a term that has been used repeatedly for describing how men date. Men are hunters. But when you really take a step back and you realize that hunters hunt prey. Not only do they hunt prey, they look for prey that is the most vulnerable. They wait. They literally wait, sit and wait until the prey exposes itself so that the shot is clean and the kill is quick. And this is what I mean by, Derek, you get to a point where you realize that all of this, your whole mindset is flawed. But it's what you're taught, either through family members, friends, or exposure to life experiences or whatever. But to Tony Watts' point, from the very beginning, I was taught to compete, whether it was playing football, whether it was just me and my cousins. We were taught to win at all costs, right? Win, baby, win. But we never thought about what happens. What is the prize? Two, who loses then? If you're winning, then who's losing?
Right.
And this is, to me, is the foundation of the lack of protection that Black women have when it comes to Black men. And to take it one step further, my biggest issue, and I'll stop talking, is the idea that Black men can participate in a patriarchy and emulate men who never included us in the foundational documents that created this thing called America. I mean, in an audacious way, these men said all men are created equal and knew that we weren't included in that. And so now here we are in 2021, and we have men who are trying to emulate a concept that never included us in the first place and totally goes against what we were, our origin, our genesis. You go to Africa, and I've been to different parts of Africa, and the woman is celebrated there. The Black woman is elevated to she's deified, but not here. Here, unless, like Tony Watts says, unless there is a degree of separation, unless we share DNA, or unless I chose you publicly, then you're not under my protection.
That's right.
Not only are you not under my protection, if there's enough separation between us, you just might be prey.
That's right. So, Tone, I just want to pick. I appreciate you for bringing up the hunter term. So later on in life, when I redefined the hunter term, we're emotional serial killers. That's what we are. Point blank. Period. We're emotional serial killers. We're out to survive, to hunt, just like a serial killer. It's a calculated prey. We know your buttons. We know what to push. We know what not to push, and we continue to do it until we score. And that score might not be having sex. That score might be you buying me something, you getting some you chasing me around all day. That might be the score. But you become an emotional serial killer. If you understand the mind of a serial killer, they are psychopathic. They don't care about their prey. Their prey is nothing to them. Their prey is like you stepping on an ant. So when you think about how guys interact with women, and they don't care how many women they rack up, they don't care who gets hurt in the process. They will smile in your mother's face and right in your mother's bathroom, do all kinds of corrupt things to you, and come out and smile in your mother's face like nothing happened, like you were the nasty one. That's what a serial killer does. So as I grew up, I called us, my team, yo, dog, we are emotional serial killers, and we need to be stopped. I'll land my plane there.
You know, I got to add this perspective because Tony can't actually throw it in because he grew up in our neighborhood of Mount Vernon, New York, super duper popular. So his prey became like, typically if you're hunting, you will go for your prey. His prey came to him. And correct me if I'm wrong in any of this part of it, Tony Watts, because that's how he grew up. We grew up calling him Tony Watts. Never called him Tony. You called him by his full name growing up. So his mindset, if they're always coming to him, he's just tackling them as they come, taking them on as they come, because that's how he grew up. So now to Tony Massey's point, when you talk about after what we've been through the enslavement of Africans, you would figure if America treated us like this, how are we now turning to the women that we care for the most and not standing up and protecting her from such type of a treatment? How do you go from being treated than less than to turning to your partner that's supposed to love you the most and you're supposed to protect as less than? How do they become your prey after growing up in a society that makes you feel like you are less than? How do you, what went on in our minds growing up as Black men? Like, it's almost like the bullies being the bully. Those who have been bullied now become the bully.
That's
but
exactly
who's left
what
the
it is.
bully? Because they can't bully anyone out.
That's
So
exactly
you bully your wife. You bully your girls. You treat less than the people in your society that somehow, some way feels like you feel like the societies teach you that they are less than, because here in America, remember, women were also treated as property. It was also treated as property. Now, when you look back at the records of, you go back to those that museum of where they have those plaques hanging of hung black men, black people that were hung.
Mhm.
If you read the storylines, the majority of those black men that were hung were by white women.
That's right.
White women saying or doing something to kill the black, because once again, they were bullied, so they look for people that they can bully. They were bullied, so many, it's like, it was like, I think it was 4,400 plaques. And you read the stories, because the stories on it, majority are white women killing black men, because the bully person will now bully the next. And now here we have black men, enslaved Africans, now bullying who society says is less than them, instead of protecting them. Like, how do you not see? How are you treated poorly, and then you going to turn and treat poorly the people that you're supposed to love most?
So I got like a paper airplane that I'm gonna try to. It's like a little one that you throw like this, and then we're gonna get to the ladies. So I'll say this. I grew up kind of sort of like how Tony Massey, John Singletary, even Gunter Man, inside the household, respect, right? I grew up in the DC area, but my parents were from South Carolina. So everything was Southern values for me. It was yes, sir, yes, ma'am. If you didn't, it was a problem. That one moment that I was like, my mom would say, Derek, and I would say, yeah. She was like, hold on, rewind. That's we're not doing that. And so the respect and the honor was there in the household. And so here's the thing. Here's the thing that you heard across all 5 gentlemen. And this was the whole point of me doing it this way. And I know we spent some time getting it out, but here's the thing. Every one of the gentlemen on stage said that in their home there was respect. Every single one of the gentlemen said that when they deviated from it, it was how they were socialized outside of the home. So now if we're, and this is just the occupational hazard of me picking and analyzing, if that is where the shift happens, then we have to start working on how our youth show up outside, how we see each other outside, so that we know that when we put a young man outside, even if he's in the midst of chaos, even if he's in the midst of a bunch of friends that are doing wrong, that he says, that's not me. Because I was also a part of this thing where, at home it was, yes, ma'am, yes, sir. Outside the home, I did what my friends did. Because I wanted that validation and acceptance, just like most of us did. We didn't want to be the odd man out. I didn't want to get all those phone numbers, but they was like, what's wrong with you? You ain't the... So you had to do stuff that you really knew that you didn't really, you had to do it to feel accepted. So now we have to challenge ourselves, and not even us, because we're of a certain age now. The whole purpose of this show is for us to reach up, reach across, and reach down and say, hey, we got to do better, because look at what's happening to our girls. Look at what's happening to our women. And so that's a segue that I want to go down now, back down to the ladies. What I want the ladies to talk about right now, just so the audience can hear, and audience, the people that are watching, what I really need for you, because most of you are women, I want you to pass this on to your men, the young men in your family after the show is over with, because this next part here is going to be what they need to hear. The young ones need to hear. So what I want each of you ladies to talk about is, when we talk about feeling unprotected, I want you to talk to us about what it feels like on an everyday, like how the men approach you. What does it feel like coming out? Not necessarily right now, but like what does it feel like leaving out of a club and having to be harassed, or these type of things that happen every day, that men that are, now that we've looked at this is like a small little now that we know that men, when they're out, socialized, need to be validated and all of that, that's what you guys run into when you leave the house. And the problem with that is, for a lot of ladies, may or may not be on stage, but you got to deal with that outside and a lot of times inside at the same time. So where do you get to? We talked about how the men inform their opinions of women, But y'all get, I mean, in there, and we've had the show about the, the silent abuse of boys. So I don't want to say that nothing, happens to men, but y'all are getting it from all angles. And I don't think we get to hear or see about that. So I want you guys to talk about whether it's an example or whether how you feel about just walking outside the house, and what does that feel like? And does that translate into fear? Do you fear for your life? Do you fear that something's going to happen just when you see someone that looks like you, just happens to be a male, but is there a certain like hesitation that happens because of what you've been through? So we'll start with Tashura this time.
Whew, I should have known you was gonna start with me. So I really don't go out now, but I can tell you, stemming back to my childhood, I wasn't protected in the household, nor was I protected outside. So what I did, because I remember having to go to the store down the street for my grandmother often, like every day. I'm going to get her beer, gin, and cigarettes as a young child. So I would like really dress myself down. I would dress like a tomboy. I would wear hoodies because I'm trying to avoid drawing attention to me because I don't want to hear the cat callings. I don't want guys to try to talk to me. So I walk with my head down a lot, avoided giving them eye contact because it's like you damned if you do, you damned if you don't. So I just wanted to avoid them saying anything to me because I have been in situations where I have been slapped by a guy because I wouldn't give him no play. I mean, I grew up fighting guys crazy because I had to protect me. So now, as a grown woman, going into like the gas station or something, I really try to avoid it. I really do. I just like pump my gas at my card. If my card don't work or something, they say go see cashier, I will find another gas station. I am not walking in the gas station. I just really try to avoid crowds. I think I developed social anxiety because of just not feeling safe and not being protected. And we're not even going to talk about not being protected in the household. That's a whole different thing. I mean, it's crazy. You dealing with stuff in the house, then you got to deal with stuff out the house. So you just be walking around like in constant fear. You don't know where it's going to come from. So I'll leave it there because I could give some examples, but
Yeah, there's certain areas that I have on my list that I'm choosing to omit tonight for obvious reasons. I just want to make sure that we get the information, but I don't want to re-trigger some things tonight. Maybe we'll do that on another day, but I don't think that's gonna happen. I don't want to do that to y'all tonight. So Altagracia.
I want to first say thank you to all the men because I have like a whole page with notes from what you guys were saying. Because I think it was really insightful to hear a lot of the things that you guys shared on like the hunter thing. I feel like not you now, but I could hear it in your voice that was the energy that you walked in, and I find it to be interesting that I was able to kind of pick up on, and probably because of the guys I've been exposed to. Right, they talk a certain way, they move a certain way, they act a certain way, and I had to learn to differentiate who I was talking to and who was standing up in front of me. Like, who's across from me? Does this person mean me harm, or can I lend him a little bit of trust? So that was really interesting to just hear it right now. But for me, I really never had fear moving around outside. I pretty much I felt like I had the know-how. And also, I walked a lot by faith. I always used to tell myself, if it's my time, it's going to be my time. There's nothing I could do about it. I'm not going to live my life in fear. But I still took precautions. I would walk around with my keys between my knuckles, right? Just in case something happened. Little things like, turning my camera on or the light on when I'm walking at night from the car to my house. But I didn't have a lot of fear until recently, honestly. And it's triggering me right now thinking about it. Just about 2 weeks ago, I was driving to go pick my kids up from school. And I'm parked on this one-way street that's like a half a block away. And there's a car stopped in front of me, which is normal here in Philly. So I'm waiting for the guy to get back in the car or whoever to get back in the car. And as the old man is walking out, getting in the car, I see out the side that there's a dude standing oddly close to my car. And so I just turned over, and luckily I didn't have my headphones in my ear because usually I listen to an audiobook when I'm driving. I heard him try to open the door. And I looked over and I just started cursing, like, what the are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Back up off my car. Had my door not been locked, what would have happened? Right? Had my headphones been in my ear and I didn't even know that transpired, what would have happened? And I just called my partner right away, like, you won't believe what just happened. And it was just anger and rage at, like, how dare you walk up to my car and try to open my door? And I just felt like I definitely wasn't the first person you probably did that to. And he was young, couldn't have been no older than middle, 20s, somewhere around there. And so now I am scared, right? Now I want to go get my gun license. Now I do feel like I need mace in my purse because I don't know. I wasn't putting myself in no situation. I'm in the car getting ready to go pick up my kids. Like, I'm not at the club. I'm not out there, even though that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day about, us having to dress down and cover up just to avoid attention. But another thing that is true for me that I wrote down is whether I should smile at a man or not when he's giving me a compliment or saying something to me. Like, I have to be mindful of that because that smile might start a whole domino that I just didn't want that. The eye contact was something else that I wrote down. Or do I say thank you when I get a compliment, right? Or do I just keep walking? Because I don't know what's going to happen with that response. My normal, perky self wants to say thank you, right? I receive it, right? Because it should be that way. I should be able to receive compliments. I should be able to look you in your eye and trust that you as a man are going to respect me enough to honor me, the person in front of you. But it's not the case. And it's so sad. It's so sad. And I could keep going, but I'm going to shut up. But it's so sad. It's so sad.
Alta Garcia, could you just touch on that? So my wife just mentioned how liberating it is to be married and be able to just say, I'm married. And hopefully that's the end of the conversation. Now she doesn't have to be nice. She doesn't have to, gently let someone down and fear that if I don't say no the right way or whatever the case may be, she didn't have to, because I think it's really interesting. As a man, it never occurred to me, that if someone says to me, man, that's a nice car. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate you. And that's it. But for a woman, that could be seen as as an invitation. Can you just speak on that because I think for men, especially, not a lot of us understand how, because there was this thing that, Kevin Samuels did where he made it seem as though Black women were being unreasonable because they wouldn't smile when a Black man asked them, smile. And he simplified this to a singular act without taking into consideration that smile now opens the door to a whole conversation I never wanted to have. So can you just revisit that just for 2 seconds before you pass the mic?
Yeah. So I do use that line, although I'm not married. I'll just say I'm taken. I have a partner, and it does not work for everyone. I've had an experience where I said that, and the guy proceeded to follow me to say he doesn't care about my man. He's more interested in, being my friend. I'm like, it doesn't matter whether he's here or not, whether he will know or he will never know. I know, and that's enough for me. And no, right? But I had to then quickly walk to the front of the store, quickly walk out the store and jump in the car. He was there, but I jumped in the car because I didn't want my partner to see this person following me, right? And then him have to get out of the car and confront this person, and it turned into this whole mess. So yes, it does feel good. And I kind of do use the line even when I was single that I'm taken, unless I want to invite that person in. But it's just so scary. It really is so scary because I'm a happy person. And so I want to smile all the damn time. But I have to be mindful about that. And I mean, I think for women, it comes down to I know for me, I look at body language. So I'm looking at the way your shoulders, if they're slouched forward or if you're leaning back. I'm looking at the position of your head and what I'm looking at everything to read, are you safe? Can I smile back? Can I even have this short conversation with you while I'm in the line at the grocery store and know that when I say goodbye, it's over there. It's helpful, but there are still a lot of men that still feel entitled to some piece of you because you smiled or because you said thank you, because you acknowledged his presence, which I think is a flaw in and of itself. I think that speaks to wounds that men might carry, right? Maybe lack of attention. Who knows? I don't even know. But I feel like that's a whole nother talk that should be had, because I think there's deeper wounds within the man. Because we were talking about, the household is one way when they go out into society. It's like, unless we're changing society, we really can't change that environment, right? And it takes 25% of the population to adopt a new idea before it becomes accepted by the whole, by the masses. So how do we begin to create that transformation within the community, so that young boys, young men learn how to treat young women, and for young women to be able to feel safe and grow up to be themselves and not these fearful women that a lot of us grow up into becoming because of that.
All right, Bernadette, you are up.
As I've been listening, I've been thinking a lot about the question that you asked. So one of the things that really resonates with me is that a lot of what Altagracia was saying is true for me too. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. So I've lived in the hood. I've lived in a lot of really bad neighborhoods that I did not realize at the time were as bad as they were, and walked through those neighborhoods feeling very, very safe. So my experiences with men outside were not really horrible. But what I will say in terms of like not feeling protected is in my relationships. And it started with like my father not being there and not understanding like what protection from a man even felt like growing up, really. And so then repeating those kinds of relationships growing up, because that was what was familiar to me. So most of the relationships that I've been in, I realize now I did not feel protected. I did not feel safe. And even though I was in those relationships and I was trying to do everything I could to feel safe, I didn't. And the not feeling safe emotionally was so familiar to me that I just existed in those spaces, not realizing that it was something that was really a problem. So when I think about, not feeling safe and, Black men not protecting Black women, a lot of it for me has to do with emotional protection and not feeling like they really understand our heart. They understand the experiences that we've been through. They don't feel the need to protect us emotionally or mentally, and they don't understand what that looks like for us. And so in this conversation, my hope is that that's some kind of understanding or clarity really comes in that respect, because at the end of the day, yes, physical safety is very, very important, but emotional safety, mental safety is just as important. And I feel like if we don't touch on that aspect of protection, then this conversation is not going to be complete.
Very, I appreciate that. Can you just expand on what that looks like? What the not feeling protected looks like in relationships?
Yeah, absolutely. So the one big thing for me in terms of emotional safety is that if I decide to share what has happened to me in any regard, that first and foremost, I'm believed. that you're not trying to make an excuse as to why this man may have done that, or trying to rationalize any kind of behavior as not being what I said it was. And instead, listen to what I'm telling you, believe me, and support me when I say that this has made me feel a particular kind of way. That's the first way that I think men can really start to be protectors emotionally of women. Another way is to be open to hearing what I have to say in terms of my feelings, and not being defensive about what I'm saying, even if it is in regards to something that you have done. And I feel like a lot of times men will immediately want to fix a situation and not so much want to hear what I'm saying and just support the fact that maybe I just need a listening ear. Maybe I just need you to, like, hold me, or maybe I just need, like, the protection of you being around. And whenever that happens, sometimes it's like, okay, like, is this a situation that I want to bring to my man? Because immediately he's going to, like, jump into this role of needing to fix a situation, where I just may need for him to hold space for me to talk about it, because I might need that back and forth to help me to come to the best possible decision that I can make for myself. And so I feel like those things are ways that men can really start to make women feel emotionally safe. And I think with that, then you will start to see a woman relax more into her femininity, relax more into, like, the leadership that you're trying to offer, and relax more into, like, these roles and this treatment that you would like to receive from her. But I think that a lot of men don't understand that if a woman does not feel protected, then she is not going to do a lot of the things that you want her to do that is considered women roles. You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to happen when she feels like she needs to be in survival mode, when she feels like she needs to constantly be, protecting her own self physically, emotionally, mentally, financially. None of these things are going to help her relax into her femininity and really be for you what you need her to be, so that you can be the leader of the home. It's a dichotomy that I really feel like is not explored enough.
I appreciate you saying that. And I'm just going to go on a very quick tangent, Derek. And this is not, and I'm going to say it a couple of times, this is not to vindicate men in any way. This is not to vindicate men in any way. But what we talked about earlier, and Rick brought it up, is that black men have been accused of sexual assault and all kinds of things by outsiders, right? There could be a connection between that and not believing sometimes what women tell us. Like, he did this to me. Oh, are you just trying to blame him to get him in trouble? I think it's something down the line, us five men, we need to get together and have a conversation amongst ourselves and kind of really dig into that, because I'm listening to her attentively, and she's right. I know there's a lot of times that I've stepped up into a space of like, oh, what do you want me to do? Like, you want me to go handle that? And all she wanted was a listening ear. Just sit here for a second and listen to what I got to say. Because if she needed me to go do what I needed to do, she would tell me. But that aggression in me, you violated you violated my woman. So now I got to go do such and such and such and such. We don't have to do that. Sometimes you just need a space to talk and say, hey, I need you to bond with me on an emotional thing that I had, and I don't need you to do anything else. I don't need you to solve the problem. I can solve it. I just need to talk about it. So I think we'll get together, gents, and we'll kind of parse that out. Thanks. I appreciate that, brother.
On that note, in this 2 seconds, Derek, I'm sorry. On that note, and this is something that I keep having to learn. They say what you don't defeat, you will repeat.
Right.
It's not about me. Something happened to her.
I just wrote that down, fam. I just wrote that
something
down.
She's going through. Something my immediate response is to make it about me. What do I do? What's my role? How did I, it's not about you. You don't need to defend this. You don't need to fix this. You don't need to whatever. And that's hard. I won't even lie to you. And like Tony Watt said, I'm not making excuses for men by no means, but And I'm not saying that you have to understand. I'm asking you to understand that, and again, not trying so hard not to blame conditioning for the condition.
Right.
But we were raised to be fixers. If there's a problem, fix it. We were raised to find solutions. We were not raised to just listen. As a matter of fact, listening was seen as a passive response. So you're just going to sit here and just listen to this crap, do something, fix it, right? And we have to, and this is on us. Tony Watts is absolutely right. This is not on you, ladies. This is on us to teach the next generation. My son is watching. Teach the next generation that the best thing you can do sometimes is, one, don't make this about you. And two, listen with an empathetic ear, not a sympathetic ear. But it's not a natural thing for us. Our first inclination is someone's got to pay.
That's right.
Right? Someone's got to pay. Well, what if you're the person that caused the problem?
Mm-hmm.
Then who pays?
Right.
Go ahead, Derek. I'm sorry.
So I'm gonna go through a few comments, not all, but some of the pertinent ones. Erica said earlier, young Black women are taught that any attention that we receive from men was because of something we did or something we wore. Your girl Tasha, she says, I was grabbed while working in Marlow Heights, that's in Maryland, shopping center, for not responding to his play in reflex mode. She hit him in the mouth because she wasn't responding to his play. He left and came back with 3 girls to jump me. Really? So the other one I saw was Fiel says, I myself walk by faith, sis, with wisdom and being aware of my surrounding was something I had to grow into for sure, because not everyone who's smiling thinking something good, and it's just sad. Saya says it's emotionally taxing and always having to be nice or tap dance no matter what you may be going through as a method to keep yourself safe at times. We'll get Tashura's on the stage. Love Tucker said, am I the only, this is another pertinent one here too. Love Tucker says, am I the only one seeing the pattern again? Black women protecting ourselves and also moving to protect men at the same time so that they do not get into a situation that could be worse for them. So I'm gonna stop there, but I do want to make this comment. There's a lot of mental gymnastics and calculus problems y'all got to solve on a daily basis.
Yeah.
That us men cannot even fathom. Yep. Like there's nothing about us that connects with that energy, that feeling. And I think that in itself is a huge part of the problem. Is that empathy thing that we talked about earlier, right?
Yeah.
We go through our own stuff. We deal with a lot of similar things, but the stuff that y'all go through specifically as women, we don't get it. We don't get it. And as you heard earlier, a lot of us were a part of the problem too. Gunter, man, you had something to say?
Absolutely. How do we not get it?
That's the problem.
No, hear me out. Change the conversation to trying to explain Black Lives Matter to someone white.
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
I feel like he just dropped the mic and like he needed a mic in his hand, because that literally.
I'll let you, then I'm gonna jump back in. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's just from my own mind. Put it in. Now I'm like, yeah, take ownership. Yes, take responsibility. Yes, do something about it. How do you not understand it? Like rather than like the compassion and the empathy I was feeling before. now I'm just like, okay, now let's take action. Like, you guys need to take action,
Right.
because the pieces that you need are here.
Yep.
So here we go. How are you saying that we don't see it? We live in a world where we are constantly navigating a place in space where we're not trying to be seen as a threat, where we're trying to navigate so we can do our jobs or function and feel safe. Think about it. Like when you hang out with a group of people and they go say, well, hey, I think you should go check out that spot because it's a really wonderful place. I have to think about, this is a white person telling me this. Can I go to this place and be safe? Think about it. So how are we not seeing this? How are we not seeing this?
Same way they don't see it. Privilege.
Exactly. Thank you, John.
Yeah,
Exactly.
you know, when you walk out the mall, you ain't got to worry about if somebody gonna snatch you up, or
Right.
you know, when somebody come at you, you don't have to do two things, like think about how do I remain safe, but I know that a brother might be under extra scrutiny, so I got to juggle, you know, two, combating ideas. It's privilege. Man, I didn't want to say this on the show, but man, it's been often said that black men are the white men of the black community.
That's right. That's right.
You know, and we gotta own it. We gotta own that and better, because it's true.
Yeah.
It is very true. Even our rhetoric sounds the same.
Yeah.
Well, what if you wouldn't speak that way, people wouldn't treat you that way. If you wouldn't dress that way, then people wouldn't look at you that way.
Right.
Why don't you act like, it's the same rhetoric. It's exactly the same. It's the same stuff that white people say to us. We as black men are guilty of saying to black women. And then when it happens, we have this shock and awe, like, oh my God. Meanwhile, it happens every damn day. But I have a question for the ladies, and I know you want to shut it down. But we talked about emotional protection. What does physical protection look like? And I ask this question because living in Atlanta, right? I see it all the time where women are. It happened just the other day. I was at Quick Trip, putting gas in my wife's car because I vehemently do not like my wife getting gas by herself. It pisses me off when she does it. I don't care how independent you are. I get it. You're a woman. Hear me roar. Don't put gas in your car. It's my job, right? Call it misogynistic if you want. I'll own that.
Good man.
But I was at Quick Trip and I saw this woman filling her car up. It was at night and I was putting gas in her car. And this dude walked up to her. Hey, how you doing, Miss Lady? Blah, 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 blah. And she was like, no, thank you. That was her immediate response. He was like, oh, it's like that. It's like that. And and being I'm 45, so I feel comfortable, and I have a CHL. I feel comfortable saying, hey, bro, she good, man. Just walk away. All right, OG. All right, OG. And he got in his car and he left. Now, I realize that that's not a safe thing to do because some of these cats out here have no code. They have no respect for anything. And anything could have happened. But when I think about the fact that my wife and I went to a comedy show and one of the comics, who happened to be a woman, was selling these little things for women. And it basically is a little thing a woman puts her hand in. And if something happens, this is something that she's selling, right? No man has ever sold me anything like this before. So what does physical protection look like for a man who's not your man?
I love that question. As you were talking, it reminded me of this post that I saw many years ago where this woman, every morning around 5 o'clock in the morning, she would be standing at the bus stop waiting in to go to work early. And there would always be a man that was standing at the bus stop with her, never said anything to her, just stood in the corner, almost like a silent presence there. And the first couple of times she saw him there, she would wonder, like, what was he doing there? He didn't get on the bus with her or anything like that. And one morning she had gone there and he wasn't there. And she was like, huh, I wonder, where he is. And she saw him running from the house across the street to the bus stop. And he said, hey, I'm sorry I'm late. I just, stand here every morning to make sure that you're okay, that you get onto the bus safely. Because my wife told me one time when she was up early that she saw you sitting at the bus stop alone at 5 o'clock in the morning, and she wanted to make sure that you were safe. And that, I think, is one of the ways that men can protect women without even saying anything. You don't need to come and tell me that you're protecting me. You don't need to be in my personal space, but just the understanding that you want to make sure that I'm safe, even on a little part of my journey. And your presence there is enough sometimes to ward off what might happen. So I feel like that in and of itself is what protection could look like if you're not my man.
And don't ruin it, fellas, by then asking for her number.
Exactly.
I've been protecting you. Can I get your number?
Right? Like, all this time I've been sitting
I'm
here,
sorry. I'm
like,
stupid.
making
I'm
sure
sorry.
you're safe.
Day 6.
And, can we talk? Can we get some coffee? Like, none of that is necessary.
Yeah,
But
very
something
Business
like
cards.
that, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So it this is it when I first started talking the last time I talked, it wasn't that we don't understand, it's the inaction for me, right? It's like, let's say we know how it feels to be preyed on and talked to a certain way, and the inaction. And so this is where it kind of takes me a little bit, and I'll take a little piece from Tony Watts. This is not to make excuses for men or anything like this, but I think, because I'm trying to think about what would make a man look at a woman who he knows may not be as physically strong as him and still not do anything. Even whether I'm in a relationship, if I'm in a grocery store, whatever, for him to just stand and freeze or just not care. And I think there's a thing that happens as a side effect to who you women have to become. You have to protect yourself. You have to exist in a certain space in a workplace. You have to. A lot of women are the heads of their households, and there's this word strength or whatever. There's a certain amount of strength and awareness that you have to have. So then, I guess this is a statement and kind of like a question. Do we then kind of sort of believe that there exists a population of men that see that strength, and then when they see that strength, they don't see you as someone that needs protecting because they see that you have to become all of these things, and then they're like, she good, she got it. Look at
I
what she's
think,
doing. She got it. And
yeah.
so it's kind of like it's a weird toxic cycle where you have to protect yourself. You have to become strong and aware to protect yourself. But then the other person now doesn't see you as worth protecting because of who you. Does that make sense?
It does make
Mhm.
sense.
I
And
got a story
I
when you
yeah,
finish.
and I
Mhm.
really feel like that's exactly what happens. I think that a lot of men, or I shouldn't say a lot, but there is a trope of men who believe that women, especially women who have had to be like masculine facing all of their lives, are equal to men in that, because they're doing the same things that men are doing, because they are, like, thriving in a man's world, that they do not need protection, that they are not soft, that they don't need any kind of consideration at all. And so, because there is this thinking, a lot of them really feel like, oh, well, she can get herself out of this situation. I've seen her do it many times. And a lot of women have had to get themselves out of a lot of situations and have built up this kind of resistance to needing help. And so, because there is this resistance to needing help, or because there is the idea that help is going to somehow be attached to something that I don't want to give you in the future, I'm not going to accept help from you. I don't want you to offer me any help. I'm going to get myself out of the situation. And now a man does not feel like he needs to do anything for any woman who may resemble any kind of behavior or rejection that he may have had in the past with a woman who has had to be like super reliant on herself and has had to be masculine facing. So it is absolutely a cycle. It's one that I don't see being broken anytime soon. But I think that conversations like this can at least shed some light on how the other is thinking, because there needs to be a conversation and some clarity around what this looks like, because no one is really trying to rectify the situation. It's just being passed down generationally as what needs to happen, who you have to be, how you have to present in the world, and nothing is changing.
Just
I
So,
want to
so
jump
real
in and
quick,
say
real quick,
something.
I have to do this. I love my sisters to Tashura, and I talk to her every day. But y'all look at her mannerisms right now. I need you to have the floor if you need it, because you rocking in your chair.
Because that Jordan almost made me right to death. I gave an example of what you're saying. You said, how can a man be like there knowing you need protection and not protect you? Story time. I was married probably 8 years into the marriage. And I was in my hair salon, and a man came in my hair salon disrespecting me, like me and this dude going at it. My husband at the time was right there, did not utter, stutter, mumble a word. And it got to the point where I'm about to call the police and I'm about to whoop your ass at the same time. So when the police come here, they about to pick up a body. So I got the man out of my place of business. But I looked at my ex-husband like, dude, what are you standing here and you letting this man talk crazy to me? He talking about, I knew you can handle it. Bruh, listen, why you here, sir? What do I need you for? Then you gonna turn around and want to sleep with me that night? I almost said something. Bruh, I'm gonna need you. I don't even look at you like that no more. I have been in numerous situations in my marriage where people have disrespected me, other men, his friends, and his thing is, I know you can handle it. Even though I can handle it, I don't want to. Let me just sit back and be a woman. All my life, I didn't have to fight. I didn't have to fight my uncle. I didn't have to fight my cousins. I didn't have to fight the dudes in the neighborhood. Girl child wasn't safe in the house around these dudes. Can I just be a lady? Please help me.
That's it.
Like, for real.
Yeah.
Even to this day, I'm the same. I'm like, guys, look at me. I can have a bag of groceries on both hands, boxes, big heavy boxes, whatever. I'm struggling to get in the door, and they will sit right there and just look. And it's like, I know you can handle it. I don't want to handle it. I just want to be a lady. Can I just be a woman? I like wearing heels and dresses. I do. But I got to walk around in gym shoes and sweats because I just don't know when I'm going to have to knuck if you buck. Like, for real. It's shamalama ding dong. Okay.
All right, so let me jump in here real quick and give you a story that it might trigger you again. When my youngest son was about 2.5, I was in the Galleria Mall with my wife, and they was getting whatever the popular donut is hot. I can't think of Krispy Kreme donuts, and a guy kind of cut in front of her, and my wife is Spanish. I mean, Cuban and Jamaican, so you understand the volatility that would happen. I understood where I was at, and the dude was running his mouth. So I was standing there with the baby carriage about a good 15, 20 feet away from them watching. I saw the guy around White Plains because I know White Plains. I'm Mr. Westchester. I know all of the areas. So he didn't touch her, but he ran his mouth a lot. After it was over, she turned to me and said, "Why you didn't do nothing?" I said, "Because he didn't do nothing but run his mouth." But she never knows until this day, until what I'm about to say. 2 weeks later, I had him handled for doing what he did, because I knew if I'd have handled him in the mall, I'd have did jail time. So I was like, okay, we'll take care of you. So once I saw my peoples and I told them what happened, they said, let's go tighten them up. So, but to share it, your situation is totally different. Like,
yeah, because he wasn't that dude.
For somebody to come into your personal space and disrespect you, that cannot happen. That can never happen. And as well as, I'm with Tony. If I see someone, I'm out, and someone is disrespecting a woman, I'm gonna say, "Hey, yo, bro, what are you doing?" Now, here's the other part that, again, I'm not making excuses for men, but I want women to understand how they sometimes make men back off. I was in the city, 8th Street, the Village. This dude was whipping his girl's behind. I'm talking about he was putting it on her in the street. Me and my peoples got out the car. We snatched this dude up. She started fighting us with her bloody lip, her bruised eye, and she was like, leave him alone, mind your business. So sometimes you have to think of, what are we doing? So I literally ask the question now, are you okay? Do you need my help? When dude goes, mind your business, I am minding my business, you mind yours. I'm talking to her. And she goes, I'm okay, I walk away. Because sometimes we can't get involved in situations where we don't know what's going on. Sometimes women go through traumas where they think this action is normal. So we can't always be protective physically, because it might cause us a problem that we was just trying to help. Now it's a whole different situation. So I think on both parts, we need to have, like Bernadette said, we need to begin having these real conversations with these kids to say, listen, do not put your hand on a woman at any cost, period.
So I agree with you, Tony Watts. You know I love you like my mama's best friend's kid. But there's an element that we forgot, and that is, I'm afraid that your involvement is going to cause a greater response later. Right. Because some men, you know, their pride is now hurt. You got these niggas out here, you know. So her fear is not just, and I'm not suggesting that what you said isn't true. There are some people, it's not just women, right, who suffer from that idea that this is love. This is what love looks like.
Absolutely.
But there's also some people who fear that your involvement, the fact that you're even getting involved, once it's all said and done and you get in your car and leave, now I have to deal with the aftermath. Yep, and I'm going to be the sole recipient of that wrath.
That's right.
That was created by you wanting to get involved. Absolutely. And so it's a difficult way of navigating. So sometimes the safest thing to do is just call 911.
Yep.
But my biggest problem is the men who see that and either say, that's not my problem.
Right.
Or worse, what did she do? You know, like the whole Rihanna and Chris Brown thing. People were actually saying, well, what did she do? I don't care. I don't care what she said. I don't care. No woman deserves to get beat like that. I grew up with the mindset, and I taught this to my son. There's never a situation where you need to put your hands on a woman. You got to walk away. And if you're with someone in a loving relationship, a boyfriend-girlfriend situation, who is constantly trying to incite that type of rage out of you, break up.
Break up.
because this person obviously is not for you. But don't put yourself in a situation where you even feel like I got to put my hands on you. And I do believe, with all due respect, and I hope I don't lose anyone when I say this, I do believe that fathers and mothers should teach their daughters that you have a handicap against most men.
Right.
Your size is a handicap. So I'm not suggesting that you would do anything that would make you deserve to get hit, but you could definitely do something that would cause you to. So be mindful. Every man knows that there are men you buck, and there are men you be like, you know what, man, I ain't got time for this. I got to go to work because he's huge.
But I just want to add one other thing, because I want to make it clear, because this is what I told my boys. As I told my boys, they're not to put their hands on women. But if a woman is being overly aggressive to the point that she's about to hurt you, you have the right to stop her. And when I say stop her, I don't mean punch her in the face. I don't mean beat her like she's a man. I mean put her in a situation where she can't hurt you. If that's holding her, if that's pushing her away, but you can't. I don't want men to think, right? Decent men, not men who are out here trying to abuse women, to think that it's okay to put your hands on a woman, or it's okay for a woman to be overly aggressive with you and you just stand there. Absolutely not. No one should be able to abuse you at any level. If you need to protect yourself, protect yourself. But rule number one is you do not put your hand on a woman unless you feel your life is in danger. Period.
Can I add to that real quick?
Yes, you can.
So I have boys and a daughter, and what Tony Massey was saying about us also teaching our daughters, I think that's really freaking important, because I know that I was in toxic, abusive relationships. I too poked the bear. And so I had to learn, coming out of that and going into creating a healthier relationship that resembles one that I want, I had to learn how to do things within myself so that I was showing up as the woman that I needed to show up as. So I think it's important to say, yes, there's a lot of work that men need to do, but we also do need to teach our daughters a lot when it comes to not only self-respect and how they manage and take care of themselves, but again, back to the point that I said earlier, how we honor men and how they need to view men, just as we're teaching our sons that they too need to view women in a different way than they have traditionally.
I love that you said that, Alagracia, because I really feel like we are not taught relationship skills. I think that a lot of times we feel like we should just inherently know them because we have seen relationships growing up, not realizing that the quality of the relationships that we see may not even be like what healthy relationship actually looks like. But because we've been around relationships, we feel like we know how to exist in them and handle them correctly and cultivate the type of relationships that we actually want, which is really healthy and safe love. And so I think that if we do more of teaching our young people and teaching ourselves as well, like how to build relationship skills, where we learn how to problem solve, we learn how to communicate, we learn how to understand that sometimes space is required in arguments and we don't always have to handle a thing right now. Like we need to learn some of these things, because that is how you start to cultivate the type of safety in relationships where not only do you feel like you can bring your most authentic self, but a man feels like he can lay down this shield that he has and just be like a human and show a little bit of his soft side, which is what a lot of women really want. Like that's where the safety comes from. And so until we're able to do that in relationships, there's always going to be like, you know, this tension, this back and forth. And a lot of it does have to do with our childhood traumas, especially when they're unhealed, and just like not really seeing the examples of healthy love that we should, and not realizing that these are resources that we can go out there and learn, just like we would learn a skill for our job. So I think that we really need to start normalizing, like actually trying to understand what relationship skills are and build on those things so that we can have the type of healthy relationships that we say we want.
If growing up boys are told to go outside and play, which develops the mindset of being competitive, and girls are typically told to stay home and play house, raise the baby, cook in the kitchen, play making food. If boys going outside haven't learned and developed the mindset to know how to share their feelings, and girls are inside the house having learned how to learn what a real relationship is, it comes back down to what are we seeing on both parts? What is our template? Who are we looking to shape what a relationship is, which is the people we grow up with in home, not so much outside the home, but in the home. So how do you start this community of communication? How do you start this? How do you build a community? Because if you're not getting it, as Bernadette said, if you're not getting the how to do a relationship in home, and the boys are definitely not getting it because we're outside playing and we're competing. So what are we to build as a community that allows people from the outside who know to say something to us who do not know? How do you set that up? How do you build that? Because I know in this day and time, for the last 15 years, if John said how black men are the white men in the black community, the black women, the women of color, the brown women are the ones who are now going out and succeeding in businesses like we've never seen before. They are out there, they are building businesses, and the guy is thinking they okay because they are dominating in the businesses. Because if you look at your society, who owns the nail salons? Who owns the beauty shop? Who owns because they're out there making things happen to the point where men are now thinking like, no, I guess they're good. Or they're not really paying attention because I can't deal with a woman like that because I ain't doing enough. I can't move in the same circles as she is. She's doing it. Like she's doing it. Like I have friends, Dominican Republic, black women out there just popping, making money. So now when you want to go flex with them, what are you flexing with? What are you flexing with? You can't flex. Because if you are just still in your 30s, 40s, and 50s, still trying to find yourself, if that's the norm in the neighborhood, you ain't trying to get close to no woman that's absolutely doing it, that's killing it. You're not. So you're not even thinking like in the league. So you're taking yourself off the plate. But damn, bro, how do you not give up your seat if you see a woman standing on the train? How do you not say, hey, ma'am, can I just carry your bag so you think? No conversation after that. I see you. Can I give a hand? And you learn how to present yourself in a way that you hope that she'll just say, okay. If she says no, then it's okay too. But the mindset is that you don't want to get involved or you don't want to connect because you say what? Because she's making it? Because she's doing it? Somewhere along the line, we have to build a society where people on the outside are allowed to speak to the people on the inside to allow us to develop some form, some shape where we can learn how to build a relationship. That's what I had in my home because all my aunties, all my uncles were allowed to be all up in my business. But they still teach me when I got to the outside how I should see relationships. No. I needed someone to step in and say, hey, you're a nice guy. You're a nice guy, but you running through women. You think because you're nice, because you're friendly, you're not leaving bodies back there. You're not breaking hearts back there. Someone got to pull you over and say, hey, that's not best. But growing up, you ain't getting no man saying that to another guy. He wasn't getting that. Only when you got older, and then the older guys who no longer play the game can see the effects of what they've done to women in the past, will then say, hey, but you've already developed these badass habits, these habits that are ingrained in you. How do you now shift that or sift it, shake it so it falls loose of things that are no longer serving you, no longer serving not just you, but the society you live in? That's why the real shop talk is so important. We are the older dudes looking back at the young people, the kids, and saying, I want to attack this situation from now. And I'm building a business that goes and I'm speaking in schools from get them from young, elementary school, middle school, high school, get them young, just to kind of understand what it is to be in a relationship, how to see other people, how to value yourself, and how to respond and to be in a place of always being your truth and understanding that that's enough. And it's powerful enough to cause these shifts and changes, not only in you, but you're liberating other people. You're freeing other people to live their truth because you dare. So the community has to be us guys now. Looking back, how can I get involved? Where can I step in and see in the community where I can lend my voice? The one-time player, the one-time popular, the one-time sports guy, the one guy, you know what, L7 or what's that? Like you're right. How do we get to the place? Because if we're all coming out and end up doing the same exact destructive self, no matter what form we started, how are we attacking this as a community to put an end to it, or at least plant seeds that this isn't the best way to be? Because I didn't have that growing up. No one said that this wasn't the best way to. I learned that when I tried to live in a marriage and had no clue how to be in a relationship. No clue. Zero clue.
I think it's funny that you said that, because one of the things that you said earlier, I think needs to be amplified a little bit. And you said that when boys are younger, they are told to go outside, they're told to be competitive, but women, little girls, are told to be at home, to play house and all of that. And the fact that we are told to play house, we are given dolls and stuff like that, is not an indication that we have learned great relationship skills. It's just an indication that we are being domesticated. Like, that's it. Like, that's the only thing that that's really doing. It is just, the tradition of teaching women what their place is supposed to be in relationships, which is to domesticate us, which is to make sure that, like, we're in the home doing what our mothers or grandmothers did for their husbands and what have you. And it doesn't build healthy relationships, just like you said. You talked about growing up in a 2-parent household and seeing your father like deeply in love with your mom and whatnot, and you were still out there collecting bodies. Like, you were still doing all of these things. So you had the example there of what a healthy relationship was supposed to look like. And yet, like, it did not do anything in terms of transferring any skills to you so that you too can now cultivate the type of healthy love that you wanted in relationships. And this just goes to show you that, like, actual skill is required, and you need to be intentional about getting it. It's not enough for you to, like, teach young girls what cooking and cleaning looks like, what, like, keeping house and or taking care of your man looks like. There's skills that is required in order for healthy love to be cultivated and a healthy relationship to be maintained. And until we learn those things outside of what we have been doing all this time and what we have passed down generationally, our relationships, the quality of our love is not going to change at all. It's not.
I love that you just said that. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I love what you just said, because all I keep hearing in my own mind is it comes back to how we view ourselves. Like, at the end of the day, it comes back to how we show up in the way we view ourselves. And if we don't hold ourselves up here, then we function down here, and we're like, creating this just crazy thing. But when I think about my daughter, who's 11, and my son, who's 8, and I have them both in the kitchen cooking, right, and cleaning, and then I kick them both out, right? But for me, it's like an act of rebellion when I send my daughter out into the world to be independent, to be defiant. Oops. Because I don't want her to be domesticated. And like, I love the way you formulated that, because I don't think men want women to be domesticated either. Right. I think you want a woman who is whole, confident, showing up, doing her stuff, knows who she is, knows what she wants. Because then it also, like you said, Gunter, that it allows the man to come in and do the same thing. And I think that's where it extends beyond the home, is who are we cultivating as the person, so that that person is fierce and goes out into the world and creates, knows that they can create whatever it is that they want, and knows that they can say no and walk away from things that aren't in alignment with them. I think we have a fear around walking away from things that aren't in alignment. And that's come up because of the need to fit in. And so, yeah, that just all hit me in my head. I just wanted to say that out there.
Yep, and that's what I was saying about getting to our young people. You gotta teach them the importance of self-love, self-care, and living their truth. If you don't start to inject that from early, they're developing and being shifted and swayed by outside societies. But even at home, they're still not getting the guidelines that are helping them to navigate on what is a relation. What is love? Is love, when I think of love, my dad sitting at the bed of my mom in the hospital. What are the actual things that make for love? What got him to the place where he would care for her in such a way? What got, like, we didn't have those conversations with my dad. Birds and the bees, those typical. I was all with my mom. I didn't have it with my dad. My dad didn't sit me down and give me the rundown. And I don't know. Look at the rest of the guys. I don't know who had a father who said, I have dad grew up with, he's still in the house. He's still living there. Had no conversation with me on how to be an actual man. What is it to be a man? What is it to be in love?
Don't bring no babies in this house, boy.
I didn't even get that.
That was the extent of the sex conversation. Don't bring no babies in this house. How I do that? If you stand up and do it, nothing will happen. Gravity to pull it all down.
Yeah, and now you have successful women out there and men who are just built for competition by growing up. Now all they can bring to the women want, like, I want emotional support. I want words that will build me up. And men is like, I wasn't built this way. Derek, please help me out. Jump in here, Derek, please. Come on, Derek.
Yeah, this topic. And I know we're, people, y'all got bedtimes and stuff, but I'm gonna touch on this real quick. And then we'll kind of go around and see if anybody have any last thoughts. And if we need to do a part 2, we'll do a part 2. But yeah, we gotta, like, if we do a part 2, we want to bring the same people back for this because this has to continue. So on what Gunter Man was talking about, and I had mentioned it to a few of you guys before the show. And now I'm gonna have to change my damn show title this week. I'm gonna have to take some pieces out of it, but it's all good. I got a lifetime full of stuff. This lends itself into the whole topic here about protection and how we see you, and the need to feel like we're in a position to do that. Historically, men have been the financiers of the household. Like we were the ones with the jobs, and you were domesticated, as Bernadette said. And then there's a shift now. So if I come to the table with, I'm making $70,000 a year, and you as a woman has bust your ass, and you making $70,000 a year, I as a man now, if you're looking for what I'm bringing to the table, you don't need my money. So now I'm in a space where I now have to give some other stuff that I'm not used to having to give, because I'm taking care of business, and she's like, me too. So now what else? Like the emotional stuff, and so then it becomes this thing where now as a man, if I'm in that unsafe space of I don't even know what the hell to do now, because it's not just about my money in my car now, because this is what the guy with the car always got the girl, right? So now I got to get the car too. I got to get the money. This is all we know. In order for me to get the girl, got to get my money up. So now that the women are getting their money up, they're like, okay, can you hold me at night? Can you make sure the family's taking? And he's like, what? Huh? What? And so when the man is
hey, watch the kids for a minute.
Yeah, well, yeah. so now when the man is in that space, now you start to hear things like you being too masculine, right? He's not going to bring himself up. He's now got to bring you down. I'm an alpha male and you need to submit to me. And we wasn't singing this 15 years ago. When y'all came up, we're supposed to either grow together or I'm going to say, okay, you know what? I need to work a little bit harder because I need to support my family. We like, nah, you need to not go to college. Like this the stuff you hear. Don't go to college and focus on getting you a man. And it's like, wait, this doesn't work in 2021. There's women that are not going to quit their jobs for you. Like, so when you're talking about a woman feeling protected, and I had to learn this from my wife too, because I'm the doer. I'm the fixer, like Tony said. So when she's like, I just want you to be present. And I'm like, oh shoot.
Oh shoot.
I don't, okay, now I get it.
Yep.
But
that's
it took
when you
a
learn
while.
those check-ins.
Yeah.
Remember, Derek? When you learn the check-ins.
I always talk about checking in on your partners and making sure that y'all are good and listening and all of that stuff. It's a lot. But we got to get there. We have to get there, and that's why the Real Shop Talk, the ladies on the panel, all of the people that are in the comments and in the community, when Gunter Man talked about like how, a lot of times the how comes from a voice that you're not familiar with. And that's why we exist. Because what you'll notice, those of us who have platforms, and Altagracia, you next up, we pushing you up. My sister, your platform coming too. You don't know it yet, but it's coming. What we do here, we touch people that don't even know that they needed to be touched. We're touching households where there may be a man that's in that household that may not know, and then he'll hear one of us say it because we're a different voice. And I've had men literally say this, like, I did not know. I'm going to have to go back home and talk to my wife differently now. Right. I didn't know that's how. And so that's why we bring women on the show, because now he's like, they really feel like that. If we don't have a community of people that realize that this thing isn't working and speaking up about it, they won't see it because we didn't see it. We have to be better. We have to do different. We have the internet now, so we can speak our voices and bring people into this community. And then that one person that changes may inspire someone else to change. If I start a podcast, somebody might say, you know what, I can do that too. I got some things to get off my chest. And then it grows exponentially. We can't keep our mouth shut anymore, because it's not just hurting us, it's hurting the kids that's coming behind us.
That's right.
We can't, if we say we didn't know and we didn't see, how dare we not give that, the new things that we learned to our kids? They're going to grow up and do the same. We catching bodies and all this stuff that we did. And in hindsight, us now older, like, damn, I damaged some people. Do we want that to be the picture of what this thing is 10 years from now, 20 years from now? No, I don't want my daughter. Like, it's crazy, the crazy thing. And I know most of the guys on the panel that have daughters or sons. I don't want my daughter to run into a dude that did what I was doing. How do we change the narrative? We have to share these experiences and let people know I'm just like you, but I learned to do different. I just want you to do it at 21.
And you know, the thing about when you say you don't want to run into like a dude like me, who we were, nowadays women will turn into a dude like you.
That's right.
Oh,
just had to throw that out there.
That's right. That's right.
Yes.
Just throwing that out there.
That's right.
My uncle, when I had my son, my uncle taught me a very simple concept. If you don't teach your son about the streets will teach your son. Right. And so, and we have to recognize that there are people out there who have an agenda, and that agenda is nefarious. You know, they're using coded language like traditional women. And so when you peel back the layers and you realize that what traditional means is subjugated, oppressed, lack of opportunities and things, lack of choice, lack of a voice, and you realize that it is, women aren't hard to, so-called modern women are not hard to date. They're just hard to manipulate, because you have to bring more to the relationship than just the traditional tools of success. They now can ask you questions and demand an answer, or walk away and be okay. And this is why I get so upset when I hear people, romanticize our grandparents. I got some bad news for a lot of people. Your grandmother does not like your grandfather. She just don't. She stayed with him because she didn't have a choice. Now, that's not all relationships. I'm not suggesting that. But when you can't vote, when you can't own property, you can't open a bank account, you can't, you literally are limited in your ability to navigate a normal day without a husband. Not just your husband, a husband. You cannot do anything. You can't serve on a jury because you don't have a man. And I'm not talking about the 1800s. I'm not even talking about the early 1900s. I'm talking about, and I was born in 1976, and some of these laws were passed in the years that I was a child. And so, yeah, we're not dealing with a modern woman. We're dealing with a woman of today who has choices, who has opportunity, who has a voice. And like Derek said, instead of men rising to the occasion and saying, you know what, let's be better men. Instead, we are actually suggesting that women limit their success for the sake of the communities. Once again, we're asking Black women to carry the Black community on their backs. And we blame things like, welfare and all, and I get it. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like the federal government did not run game on all of us. But at the end of the day, where's the leadership? And this goes into protecting Black women. And it's bigger than just physical protection. It's bigger than just emotional protection. At the end of the day, I think one of the ladies said it, it's about being there. The fact that I was there at that gas station, and I'm not saying this to hype, to pump me up. I was scared. These young cats scared the hell out of me, but I was there. And sometimes your presence is enough, right? Sometimes just being there is enough. And there's just too many of us that are just not there. We're not in our homes. We're not in our children's lives. We're not in our communities. And we have the audacity to demand submission and demand that we sit at the head of tables that we have not created, we've not contributed to. And with unmitigated gall, we say, here's the problem with Black women. I was in the military for 16 years. I have 3 combat tours. I have never met a leader who pointed to a junior person, and John is in the Air Force. I've never met a competent leader who pointed to a junior person and identified that person as the problem. So you cannot lead while pointing the finger of blame to the people that that's supposed to be following you. You have to inspire. And in order to aspire, you have to be there. You don't have to do what they do. You just have to be there. And that's a very difficult concept for some men to learn. I'm still learning it. I'm not preaching from a place of excellence. I'm preaching from a place of, I'm still learning this lesson. Just recently, I learned that all my wife wants me to do is say it. The other day, all she wanted was a hug. I came with solutions and graphs and charts and plans, and Derek, you'd be so proud. I even had one of them, the math the big science calculators. All she wanted was a hug. All she wanted was the idea that everything is going to be okay, even if I didn't believe it. Because at the end of the day, Whatever we were going to go through, we were going to go through together. Instead, I insisted that she use logic when she knew she was being illogical, because I wanted things my way. And I made it about me.
And it wasn't about you, right?
I made it about me. Am I not a good provider? Do I not love you? Do I not, this isn't about you, bruh. This is about my stuff. Just give me a hug. So just being there, to me, that's how we start protecting Black women. It's just by being there, and we close our ears to the voices that are suggesting that our problems lay in the laps of people who have consistently been there since day one. I have never seen a rally for the Black agenda a Black woman wasn't participating in, leading, coordinating, or whatever the case may be. And this ain't me simping. it's reality. But when Corinne Gates got killed, Sandra Bland got killed, Black men were asking, what did they do?
Mm-hmm.
I've never heard a Black woman ask that question when a Black man got shot. And I'll mute myself.
Tony, again, spot on. You crushed the mic again. Thank you, my friend. I would sign off by saying what we have to teach our kids as leaders is that everybody is a human being. Everybody's human. And once you understand that old biblical saying, treat others the way you want to be treated, once we get there, then we can stop all this nonsense. This is the way you build the village up. The village has to understand, no matter if this woman lives in my neighborhood, she is to be protected. She has to be protected. It is very important. And until we learn how to do that, man, we got some work to do. And that's why the Real Shop Talk is here. We understand there's some real work that has to be done. And I just want to stop for a second and commend Gunter, man. You really inspired me, because we started this, we had this talk in 2020 about going to talk to schools and stuff like that. You're making that vision a reality. I'm behind you 150%, bro. I'm behind you 150%. Let's go get it.
So we're going to wrap this up. I know folks got things to do. This was important. We probably going to have to frame some kind of a part 2 for this, because I definitely want, we're going to have ladies here every second Tuesday, but this particular trio here, I think we need them back.
Second Monday of the month.
I'm sorry, Monday. I'm sorry, second Monday. I'm thinking second day of the week. Anyway, it's I'm on. Yeah, anyway, so that's what I want to do, gentlemen. And audience, our links are in the bio. I'm not going to ask the gentleman to kind of state, where to go find them. Just go to the website. The ladies, what I want you to do, I want you to frame your last parting statements in this way. I want you to speak to the young man that may see this, and just give some parting words to that young man that may be watching this, what you would want to impart on him to try to do better. And then let us know, after you do that, let us know where to find you or what you have going on or anything you need to talk about as far as your brands or anything like that. So we'll start with Bernadette.
Okay. So I'll say this. There is a comment that I saw a little while ago that I've been wanting to address this entire time. And I am going to say something about it now, and I'm going to answer the question. And the comment is, with some women, you just are not sure. Past hurt can cause exaggeration. And to the young men, I will say, comments like that is exactly the reason why Black women do not feel protected. Because this comment is coming from a woman. And if a woman can have the idea and say out of her mouth when you are in a dangerous situation that past hurt or past things that have happened to you can cause you to exaggerate about something that you're feeling, in essence, you are saying that she is not to be believed. And if you feel that she is not to be believed, and you are teaching your sons that this is a possibility, that women are not to be believed because they exaggerate things, it is a perpetuation of the problem that we are having. And so, young men, if a woman says no, if she looks like she is uncomfortable in any way, if you feel at all in your spirit that what is about to happen does not feel comfortable for you, stop. Just stop. Because even if none of those things are true and you stop now because you feel some kind of way, understand that that is a protection for you against further harm, and it is a protection for her against something that might possibly happen. So I'm going to leave it there. Use your intuition, use your gut, but be safe. And even if that safety looks like you have to walk away from the situation that you absolutely want to be in, do that, because let me tell you this, there will be other opportunities. There will be other opportunities where you will feel like there is absolutely a green light, that there is no doubt in your mind or hers that you both want to be here and do what's about to happen. Wait for those opportunities, because anything less than that can be misconstrued. Anything less than that can feel like danger to a woman. Anything less than that can get you in trouble when that wasn't even your intention. So that's what I want to say there. And for anyone who wants to find me on social media, you can do that at Bernadette N. Jackson on IG. All of the links to my bio are there. I have a free training called the Relationship Autopsy, where I am showing you how to break down the patterns in your relationships so that you can start to point yourself to a new way of doing things. And if this is something that you're interested in, you can find that in my bio. You can find the link to my podcast in my bio, and you can just hit me up in the DMs. I love talking to people. I love connecting. So thank you guys for allowing me to be on your platform, and I can't wait to be back.
So Bernadette, you are sanctioning sliding in your DMs. I just want to be clear.
Yes. Slide
Okay.
in there. Slide in there.
See, Bernadette got boundaries, so she ain't worrying about that.
Nope.
Altagracia, you're up.
Having all types of technical difficulties. All right, I made it. Okay. The one thing that I wrote down that I would want young men to walk away with is to put down their ego, because the ego is a representation of I. And when you are trying to move forward in a new way and understand the divinity that you are walking in, you need to understand that you are a part of a bigger picture. And so we need to start letting go of the ego, because the ego is just feeding all the things within you that it just isn't true. And step into understanding where you stand in the larger frame of things, and that what you put out is a representation of you, and take pride in that. That's what I teach my sons. So I'll leave it with that. You can find me on Instagram at R2E Coach. And like I said in the beginning, I really work with women who are the pokers of the bear, because we have unhealed wounds within us. So if any of you are watching and you want to get support on that, I too sanction the DMs because I understand that this is private for a lot of women. So I do hold this space for you to come and be real so that you can get real support. I think that's important. And thank you guys again for having me here. This was so much fun.
Tashura Talks.
Ain't got nothing to say. No, I'm just playing. Okay, so I wrote down what I wanted to say. So to the young men out there, this is what I'll say. We are not bitches in body parts. We are mothers, grandmothers, sisters, aunts, queens, just as you, young men and men, are kings. If you're with a group of men and you see them doing wrong, you don't have to do what they do. And please speak up. Tell your boys to chill. Try to be the voice of reason. And try to surround yourself with better people. because you are what you surround yourself with. So that's all I have to say.
So tell us where
Oh.
tell us how to find you.
You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all of them at Tashura Talks or at KKG Creations. And you can also go to www.kkgcreations.com. Thank
Spell
you guys.
KKG Creations because I know it's some
Oh
K's
yeah,
and G's in there.
you know I do something extra. It's KKGKreationz.com.
Cool, and I definitely
Bunch of
want
man
to.
with the bling. That's
Oh
the
yeah,
KKG
she did
creation
Gunter
right
Man's
there.
bling necklace. She does all the bling stuff and anything you want your logo on or anything like that. Holla at Tashura. She will get you together on that. And we support each other. I do want to say this as we close. Thank you guys for coming that are in the comments and that you stayed and you're still commenting, and we appreciate and love you guys. The ladies on the panel, this was amazing. We need to have you back. Each and every one of you guys, the value that you bring, not even just to this show, but in general, like we have cross-pollinated each other's shows and had each other as guests, and Altagracia is the newbie here, but you now part of the crew. So anybody who has a show, I don't know what your schedule is, but she said the DMs are open. So she's an amazing guest. I had her on my show. She's very knowledgeable and trauma coach, intuitive money coach. So I'm pushing her up because I want to make sure that we champion each other. And as in an ongoing basis, this Real Shop Talk thing, we definitely have to thank Mr. Tony Watts for even having the concept to do this and look what it's doing. And so not only do we have amazing people that have kind of linked up with us, but they keep coming back. That says a lot. So I'm gonna land there. You can find all of our the gentleman's information on realshoptalk.net if you want to connect with us. And we just gonna keep coming every week. We're not gonna stop. Like I don't do all of the whole let's break for 2 months and all of that unless we have to. Like we got a crew of 5, so somebody got to go do something. We still gonna be banging and rocking here. So, so that's just my piece. If any of the gentlemen have any last parting words that they want to say before we go, we can wrap it up. Nope, we good. All right. Well, we will see you guys next Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with another amazing topic, and we're gonna keep going, guys. We want you guys to link arms with us as we link arms with you and build this community or spider web or whatever you want to call it. We're just gonna keep growing because everybody the irony in this is, how sometimes you'll have friends or you'll build a community and somebody's just there's a rotten apple. We don't have any rotten apples. Like everybody's doing this from their heart. And I think that's how we connect. Like people do this because they love it. And so we want to keep building this thing. So on that note, we're going to wrap it up. We'll see you guys next week, same time, same place. Ladies on the panel, we thank you. And we'll be talking to you guys too. So we'll talk to you guys. Let me see. I see. Okay. Oh, yeah. Let's not forget tomorrow, John Singletary, first live show, Help Myself podcast. Make sure you follow him and get it in. We got to support our brother. We're going to get it in. He been training his whole life for this. So we about to we about to see his years of leadership and his amazing podcast formulated to a live show. So y'all better come and see that, man. Or we coming to get you. We sending Tony Watts to come get you. So, so on that note, we out of here, guys. Y'all have a safe and amazing rest of your week, and we will talk to you soon. Have a great night.